Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I note the change in my schedule beginning on Monday this week. My schedule has changed. I'm streaming 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, same time. So same time, same content, just no streams on Tuesday and Thursday. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure. All Bookmap Ltd materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. That's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter. My name there is @DougPless. Here are the key tenets to my approach for trading. This is the basis of my approach to trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures. And certainly the large cap tech stocks that I follow, the Magnificent Seven stocks, as well as the equity futures, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index, and SPY is the ETF version of that index, and ES is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. So all they're doing is making markets and managing their risk. That's a directional risk, their delta risk with ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index, QQQ is the ETF version of that index, and NQ, the futures, are a derivative of NDX. And again, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning. And I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. Excuse me. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups, for entries and exits. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. And setups in that asset can be taken any number of ways. For example, the S&P 500 setups can be taken with ES futures, SPY shares, SPY options, SPX options, or even ES options. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. All right, hello Stephen, welcome, glad you're here. Billy J asked, could I possibly turn my volume up? And Edmund Lee, hello, welcome, glad you're here. Let me see, I have adjusted my volume recently, boosted it. I can try again. I don't know if it will go into effect on this session. I can try. All right, Billy J, is that any better? And is anyone else having an issue with volume? All right, let's move on. Here's my agenda for today. Steven says it's fine. Compulsive guy. Sounds good to me. Sorry, Billy J. I boosted my... I did boost the gain some more. Boosted it 2 dB. All right, let's move on. My agenda for today, Wednesday, April 3rd. First of all, I want to cover news items, economic data, and events for today as well as the rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis for today. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. And then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. All right, so let's start with the data for today. We'll take a look at that in just a minute. So ISM Services PMI data came out today. That was lower than expected, lower than the previous number, but still greater than 50, indicating expansion. There was a very bullish reaction to that data. And then also Jerome Powell was speaking at 12:10 today. I believe that was at a Stanford event. So we'll take a look at the reactions to the data as well as Jerome Powell in just a moment. Then also on Friday, the jobs report comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That is the monthly jobs report that comes out on the first Friday of the month. That could be a market mover. Hello, Katinga. Welcome. Glad you're here. All right, let's move on. First of all, we'll take a look at the reaction to the data, then we'll go to the positional analysis. So this is the ES futures and Bookmap, S&P 500 futures. Hold on just a moment. Came out at 10 a.m. Very bullish reaction to that data. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And then Jerome Powell was speaking. My understanding was he was speaking at 10 a.m. It looks like something happened just after 12:30 there. He could have said something. I'm not sure how long his speech was going on. But anyway, the ES trading just below the highs of the day, and that is right below the SPY 521 level. More about that in just a minute. All right, so that is the reaction to the data. Now let's move on to positional analysis. So again, this is the ES futures and Bookmap. Before I take a closer look at this chart, I want to take a quick look at a larger time frame. I'm going to go to the underlying index, and that is the SPX again. And the current rally began last year, October 30th. So far, SPX has rallied up just over 1,150 points. All right, so let's take a look at the top of the rally now. So that's a one-day chart in Thinkorswim. Now let's move to a 1-hour chart. Here's the top of that trend line. And so far, the high for SPX, right around 52.65. All right, let's take a look at the levels on this chart. First of all, the dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. That's based on the options market and based on the closing price normally of the previous Friday. In the case of this past week, Friday was a holiday, so that's based on the closing price on Thursday for SPX. And note that SPX, we'll take a closer look at them in just a minute. Yesterday did trade down below that level and is trading back above that level today. All right, the dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move, also based on the options market. That is based on the closing price of the previous day. In this case, that would be based on the closing price yesterday on Tuesday, I'm sorry. And I do post both of those numbers every day in Discord and the evening before. All right, so I posted the Wednesday numbers, the numbers for today, yesterday evening about 7:30. All right, the other lines on this chart are Spotgamma levels. These are provided to Spotgamma subscribers. They're available on a wide variety of trading platforms. This is Thinkorswim, again, a 1-hour chart. Let me point out the key daily levels. First of all, 5,000. That is the absolute gamma strike. That's a strike where there are just absolute positive and negative gamma. Then the next level up is the put wall at 51.85. Kind of a strange level. So that's the strike where the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. Excuse me. And that level did move up from yesterday. Yesterday it was at 4,800 and it moved up to 51.85 today. And just above that is the volatility trigger. That's at 52.05, the VT. That is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to enhance or increase volatility. Above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. And then finally, the call wall is at 5,300. That's a strike where the largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. So the potential ceiling for price is at 5,300. And note, during this year, 2024, the SPX call wall has moved up from around 4,800 at the beginning of the year. It was as high as 5,400, now back to 5,300. And the put wall did shift higher from yesterday, pretty substantially, and the volatility trigger did shift lower, slightly lower from 52.45 yesterday. Tony K, welcome, asks, is the put wall and volatility trigger always identical? No, they're not, and hardly ever identical. So again, the put wall is at 51.85. Yesterday it was at 4,800, and the volatility trigger is at 52.05. So there is some difference in the put wall and volatility trigger, but they're hardly ever at the same level. All right, so those are the key daily levels. Again, volatility trigger shifted slightly lower, put wall shifted higher. All right, let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1-minute chart. Let me zoom out just a bit. So I'm showing, let's show 2 days worth of data here, just to show that SPX did trade down below the lower weekly expected move yesterday, the stark shaded portion, regular trading hours from yesterday. And then finally, SPX started to move higher just after noon, finding support at the lower weekly expected move. All right, so today, SPX trading above that level, also up above the volatility trigger now. That level was resistance earlier today, and then SPX blasted above that level after the 10 a.m. data release and has traded up toward the upper daily expected move. All right, let's move on to Bookmap now. So in Bookmap, I have my own cloud notes, so I can show SPX levels. So there's the 52.05 volatility trigger. And I'm also showing SPY levels on this chart. Here's the 521. That's just a round number. That's not a Spotgamma level, acting as resistance earlier today. Here's the SPY 520 absolute gamma strike. And note this volatility trigger also acted as resistance earlier today before the S&P 500 launched above that level. Here's the 5200 level. This has been Spotgamma's line in the sand for risk on versus risk off below that level. So as the S&P 500 was below that level earlier today and now trading above, as well as the volatility trigger. And Tony K, you're welcome. All right, so again, I have my own cloud notes so I can show SPY levels, SPX levels, and other key levels for ES. And note there is a difference between the price of ES and SPX. And today, that was, last time I checked, 52. It's still around 52 today. So I'm showing SPX 5200 at ES 5252. And I do post the index relationships that I'm using every day. That is the ES minus SPX and the SPY to ES to SPY ratio, as well as the same ratios for the NASDAQ. All right, Katinga, welcome. Hello. Ask, what is the significance of the NQ to QQQ ratio? All right, so let's take a look at NQ. All right, so the way I'm using that ratio is I want to show the QQQ levels on this chart. Also have my own cloud notes, so I can show the QQQ levels at the correct NQ level on my chart. So I have a spreadsheet, and I'm using an add-on called Price Lines. So let me show that. And that's what displays the labels and draws the lines on the chart. So once I come up with that ratio, which today I'm using 41.556. And for the NASDAQ, I'm just rounding this off to the nearest round number. So I'm using that 41.556 to show the QQQ level at the correct NQ level. So that's how I'm using it. And then the NDX levels, I have to show those manually, just like the SPX levels. All right, also Katinga asked, how do I obtain the SPX and SPY levels? All right, so let's take a look at that. Let me go to this watch list. This is very easy in Thinkorswim. I just have the /ES minus SPX. That's just a little over 52 today. So that's where I get that number. Same for NQ minus NDX. And then the ratios, I have a little script in Thinkorswim. I'll show QQQ here. It's the same for SPX. And I have posted the code for these scripts in the Discord, Options-Doug chat channel. Look for the pin in the upper right corner. All right, let's move on. So again, here's the NASDAQ futures and Bookmap. And I do want to take a quick look at the underlying index charts. Let's start with QQQ. Note that 440 is the volatility trigger and also the absolute gamma strike. So that level, just like the SPX volatility trigger, acted as resistance until QQQ blasted above that level after the 10 a.m. data release. And you're welcome, Katanga. All right, so QQQ made it up to 444, just a round number level. That's the exact high, 444. The level that did act as resistance. And note now, the NASDAQ QQQ is trading around the 443 zero gamma level. It's the zero gamma level. It has been acting as support. All right, so big move in the morning, lasted about 30 minutes, and then consolidation around the 443 zero gamma level. Let's take a quick look at NDX, and then we'll get back to NQ futures. Zoom in just to look at a couple of days worth of data. Here's the 18,000 level. Acted as support yesterday, and now NDX trading up above that level, that 200 level, acting as support. And that is a large gamma 3 level. All right, so here's that 18,200 level that I was just talking about, NDX, again showing those in my own cloud notes, and the QQQ 443 zero gamma level just above that. And that is just above the NQ 18,400 level. That cluster of levels. So by looking at QQQ and NDX and NQ levels all in the same chart, I can see where they line up. So I can see here from this chart that this cluster of levels has acted as support. All right, let me check for questions. All right, Billy J, I'm sorry you're having an audio problem. You might, I think it's possible that there's, I guess, a greater likelihood of an audio issue on YouTube rather than Discord. You're welcome to join Bookmap Discord, and I do stream in Bookmap Discord and YouTube at the same time. So again, if you can't resolve your issues, one way is just to join us in Bookmap Discord. Just join Bookmap Discord, and all right, Billy J, making it work right now. All right, so JF Benoit asked, they've acted as support, but what would you expect next? So I'm still on my positional analysis. So I'm looking at the levels, how they've shifted, and also how the index, ES and NQ are reacting at those levels. So I will move on to setup review, and then we'll take a look at the live market. So this is still my positional analysis. All right, so let's wrap that positional analysis up by looking at, first of all, gamma notional. We'll take a quick look, see how market makers were positioned on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. So this is gamma notional for the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. Note, with the exception of NDX, these numbers are negative. Very mildly negative for SPX. And this is really pretty mildly negative for SPY as well, negative for QQQ. All right, so this indicates on this portion of the gamma curve, market makers are, traders are long puts, market makers are short puts. Hence the negative gamma, they have to trade in the direction of price to hedge their delta exposure. So let's take a look at the Vanna model and see what that might mean. All right, so this is the SPX Vanna model. What this chart is showing is market makers delta notional. Whoops, wrong tool. Market makers delta notional on the vertical axis, spot price for SPX on the horizontal axis. There are two curves on this chart. The light gray curve is showing how market makers delta notional may change with changes in price only. And the purple curve, that's what we want to take a look at. That shows how market makers delta notional may change with changes in price and implied volatility. And that's the curve that we want to take a look at. So let's go back to our SPX chart. We'll check the low of the day. That's right around 51.94. So let's find that on the chart. And now high of the day right around 52.28. So let's first of all go to all right, somewhere around here, 51.91.95. So what this is showing is price is increasing. Let's take a quick look at a VIX chart. So we know price has been increasing. Let's take a look at VIX. And today VIX has been falling, so volatility dropping. Price increasing. Price increasing, volatility dropping. Market makers can buy back short futures. That is a put Vanna rally. So this chart, this line is showing how market makers delta notional may change with changes in price and applied volatility. That change in delta with the change in applied volatility is the Vanna effect. Something good to take a look at every day. And that the best way to use this, one of the ways to use this is to look at something like this. So you know there's potential put Vanna fuel in the tank for a rally like that if the data comes in better than expected. And that's on the NASDAQ. Same thing on the S&P 500. Put Vanna fuel in the tank for a rally like that. Sharp move higher. Market makers are buying back short futures as the S&P 500 moves sharply higher. That helps to fuel the rally. So a bit of a put Vanna rally as price increased and implied volatility dropped. All right, let's take a look at some setups. So we're here on SPX, S&P 500. Let's start with that. So now I want to take a look at what options traders have been doing today. So everything that we've looked at so far is based on static data, other than Bookmap, based on static data. Spotgamma takes open interest data that's updated once a day, overnight. They apply their algorithms to come up the levels that I show on my chart. And I'm watching how those levels shift from day to day to develop a thesis. Again, regarding the expected trading range, volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. All right, so I forgot to mention for NASDAQ, the volatility for QQQ, the put wall, and volatility trigger both move lower. So slightly bearish for NASDAQ, but that is before the 10 a.m. data release. All right, so now let's move on to execution. Look at real-time data. So this is the HIRO chart, HIRO, that is Hedging Impact Real-Time Options. This is available to Spotgamma subscribers. Excuse me. What this chart is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal of SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures, all into one combined signal. All right, Tony K had asked, VIX falling, price up. Why does Founder's Note show negative, slight negative this morning? So again, that's based on static data that's updated once a day. So that's in the, just so everyone understands, that's at the morning, that's at the open. That's their position at the beginning of the day. All right, so now we're looking at real-time data. This is, again, options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal of the SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures. The white line is showing price for SPX. Purple line is the hero signal. Again, hedging impact real-time options. And a rising hero signal indicates traders are taking positive delta positions. They're buying calls and or selling puts. Market makers take the opposite side of those trades, and they have to buy futures to hedge their delta exposure. All right, let's zoom in on this chart now. All right, so you can see the hero signal up to 10 a.m. was pretty flat, moving slightly lower. And then at 10 a.m., there was a hero floor alert, sharp move higher, and hero that continued higher. Some consolidation, then moved higher again. All right, one thing I want to do is separate out puts and calls to get a little bit more clarity, a little bit more nuance in what we're looking at. So I'm going to take a look at puts and calls separately. All right, so there's an issue with hero. It does an auto zoom when you shift from puts to calls and back. All right, so now I'm showing calls. That's with the orange line. A rising orange line indicates traders are buying calls. When traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to buy futures to hedge their delta exposure. So that sharp rise higher in the purple, the total signal, hero signal, was mostly call buyers. Note that jumped higher. Again, the flow alert. There were a few put sellers. And since then, the put line is mostly flat. Let's take a look at the total notional value. This is so far today. Traders buying calls, notional value $7.3 billion. That is huge. That's dollar notional value, $7.3 billion. And they're also buying puts, much smaller. Call buyers definitely in charge today. That is negative $1.82 billion. So the falling blue line indicates traders are buying puts, and the rising orange line indicates traders are buying calls. And again, the call buyers much more aggressive today, driving price in the S&P 500. All right, so let's take a look. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So we know that 10 a.m. traders start aggressively buying calls. Until then, ES was trading in a very narrow range, finding resistance at the 5205 volatility trigger. And then right at 10 a.m., traders started buying calls. There was a put Vanna fuel in the tank for a rally. Subchart is showing cumulative volume delta rising. That's shown by the magenta to dark blue line. Also, as price started to move higher, buy stop orders helped to fuel the move higher. That's shown by the rising yellow line. Also, the on-chart indicator showing buy stop orders, fueling that move higher. The volume dots are showing market buy minus sell. Let me boost up the volume dots just a little bit. Magenta volume dots Magenta volume dots are showing more aggressive sellers. So again, these are market buy minus sell. Magenta dots indicate more sellers than buyers. Green volume dots indicate more buyers than sellers. And note the straight line of green volume dots all the way up until around the 520, SPY 520 absolute gamma strike before some sellers start to come in. Pull back, then aggressive buyers come in, and price moves on up to 521. Also the high liquidity at that level. That's the heat map and book map showing a history of the limit orders in the order book. And above price, those are limit sell orders. Game Now asks, would I have ignored the first flow alert? I assume you're talking about the S&P 500 combined signal, and yes, especially knowing that there's high impact data coming out at 10 a.m. Now, that's not the case for stocks, and I'll show you why in just a minute. All right, so that's the S&P 500. Let's go back to Hero now. All right, so remember I'm now showing puts and calls separately. I'm just going to leave Hero like this. So Game Now, I assume you're asking about this flow alert. Yeah, you know, again, knowing that data is coming out at 10 a.m., there were better opportunities in stocks that we'll go over in just a minute. All right, so this flow alert I would not have ignored. So here you see a flow alert, you see a sharply rising orange line, call line, and you're looking for a long entry, and that's a fast move. All right, let's move on to NASDAQ. For NASDAQ, I'm going to take a look at this MAG 7 signal. Let me zoom out just a minute, show you what this is. So this is another combined signal showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal of Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla. These stocks make up a large component of the NASDAQ 100 and are key drivers of price for both the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500. All right, so let's zoom back in on this chart. Zoom in on the morning. So notice in the morning, starting right around 9:45, traders start selling puts. And that is before the 10 a.m. data release. So they're selling puts in the MAG 7 stocks. And then with the data release, and this line starts to tick up just about a minute before the data release. Traders are, at this point, they are selling puts and buying calls. Blue line, orange line moving in the same direction. That's a very powerful directional indicator. So let's take a look at the NASDAQ now. Go back to Bookmap, NQ Futures, zoom in. Same consolidation before 10 a.m. 440 absolute gamma strike volatility trigger, as well as VWAP, shown by the light blue line there, acting as resistance. Now, one important difference between the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, notice this rising light blue line. That is iceberg orders. I need to... So just like the MAG 7 traders selling puts before they move higher, large traders were buying NQ futures with iceberg orders they used to hide their size. So that's shown by the rising light blue line. Again, that's coming out before the data release. Also shown by the on-chart indicator. 228, that's decent size for NQ. 567, that's pretty good size. Now what Bookmap is doing, it's consolidating. Those are That's 567 orders executed. And at this level of consolidation, it's showing 12 different executions. Again, aggressive buyers come in. It looks like they were coming in actually a little bit before 10 a.m. Light blue line continues to rise. Large traders continue to buy with iceberg orders. Cumulative volume delta shown by the magenta line rising, and then also the yellow line rising, showing that buy stop orders fueling that move higher. All right, so the clues were there in both Bookmap and in Hero. All right, JF Benoit, obviously when price rises, you see more aggressive buyers than sellers. That is the case typically with the NASDAQ and ES, not necessarily so with stocks. All right, what we want is to figure out when live is what. Should a level for entry and to stop live. All right, yellow line again is the buy stop orders. Rising yellow line, buy stop orders. All right, so we'll talk about the live market in just a minute. All right, so let's move on to some stocks. Let's move on to some stocks now. So the first stock that I want to show is Meta. Let's take a look at Meta. And I did post this in Discord. I posted it right around 10 a.m. But really the setup was earlier. So let's go take a look at Hero. Go back to Hero. I'm going to go to Meta. Here we go. Let's zoom in on this. All right, so this is exactly what I'm looking for. Let me close this. I'm going to go to alerts, go to my watch list. Meta's on my watch list. All right, so what I'm doing, I'm watching this at the cash open, watching for these alerts. Again, at the cash open, that's when a lot of the alerts come in. I know that Meta has been very strong recently. It was up pre-market. All right, it looks like I missed a question. All right, compulsive guy on the Hero signal, purple line is above price. How significant of a difference is usually required to move price up to the purple line? So I don't look at the purple line being above or below price. They're really working on a different scale. The scale for the Hero signal is on the right, and the signal for the scale for the Hero signal. This is the scale for price. So there are, again, two different vertical scales. Now I do look at the slope, and if they flattened out. All right, so let's get back to Meta. Meta, this flow alert came in 40 seconds after the cash open. So, less than a minute after the cash open. Flow alert came in. All right, so let's zoom in on this chart again. So I'm watching for alerts. I see the alert for Meta. I take a closer look at this chart. See the flow alert, rising orange line. Again, I know already that Meta is strong before the cash open. And it was strong yesterday. Flow alert gets my attention. I look at Meta, again, rising orange line. I'm looking for a pullback. So in this case, you can use Bookmap, or if you like to look at setups on a candlestick chart, one technique is to look at a 9-period EMA. And on my candlestick charts on my trading platforms, I do have a 9-period EMA. So I'm looking for basically a dip and then a move higher. JTrader talks about that, a cup. And then here's the pullback entry, this arrow right here. So looking at the orange line, sharp move higher, flow alert, looking for an entry, a little bit of a pullback, and then meta moves higher. And that is just before 9:35. So let's go look at Bookmap now. Here's meta. Let's zoom in. See what clues we can find here. Let me zoom in just a little bit more so we get a real close look. All right, meta. One thing you need to know about meta, you always want to look for a deep pullback. So I'm waiting for a pullback. Here, if you were, and let me zoom in a little bit more. All right, a meta, here's the first pullback. Oops, wrong tool. First pullback to 500. So if you miss that, looking for this, looking for a trend break, the orange line starts to move higher. Second entry here. Primary target is at 505, liquidity at 505. Again, this is showing a history of the limit orders in the order book. These limit orders act as a magnet for price. All right, so JF, I hope that helps answer your question. There is no perfect entry. Tony K asks which one, 9 AMA or EMA? EMA, exponential moving average. That's what I have on my candlestick chart on my trading platform. All right, so I hope I answered questions, Tony, JF Benoit. All right, so, and again, I posted this in Discord. Again, a little bit late, but just showing. Also note that cumulative volume delta was up. All right, so let's zoom back out. All right, so that's how to play it. You know, if you were fast, saw the alert, saw the rising orange line, entry there, or trend break, another entry there. All right, let's move on. Next stock, NVIDIA. All right, JF asked, magnet for price because operators think they will get executions for longs, for example. No, because buyers seek sellers and sellers seek buyers. So traders know that that liquidity is in the order book. So if you want to sell Meta, where would you rather sell? You know, looking at this in the morning. Yeah, you want to sell it sell at 505. That was the highest liquidity in the order book. JF also says, but it could be spoofing and vanishing when price gets there. That's typically not the case for stocks. What is very often, almost always the case, is this liquidity comes in the order book at the cash open and stays there until it's filled. That is very typical of stocks. These limit orders come in the order book. They stay there all day until they're filled. And they come in at the cash open. All right, let's move on to NVIDIA. Oops. Let's go take a look at Hero, see what options traders are doing. Let's go on to NVIDIA. Zoom in a bit. All right, so notice in NVIDIA, the rising blue line, and note the MAG7 signal often is very, very close in appearance to the NVIDIA signal. So traders selling puts before the open, before the data release at 10 a.m. Then after the data release, traders start buying calls. Orange line, blue line moving in the same direction up to the 900 key gamma strike. Note that that was resistance for NVIDIA yesterday. I posted a screenshot of NVIDIA showing how when traders took their foot off the gas at 985, options traders, NVIDIA moved lower. All right, so let's go take a look at NVIDIA now. All right, so we know around 10 a.m. traders are selling puts and buying calls. $10 a.m. data release. Here another entry point. It could be VWAP. Price moves up above the 900 key gamma strike. Quick move higher, up for about 10 to 15 points. Whoops, didn't mean to do that, sorry. Let's go back to Hero. Zoom all the way out. So notice, again, just like yesterday, as price made it up to and above the 900 level, options traders took their foot off the gas. So the put sellers took their foot off the gas, and then right around 11:45, the call buyers also took their foot off the gas. Right around 11:45, orange line, blue line moving down, and price moves down. Then right around 12:15, they started buying calls again, and NVIDIA started to move higher. In this case now, the traders are not doing much with puts. So call buyers driving price action. Let's take a look at Tesla. Actually, for Tesla, I'm going to change to the total signal. I find that a little bit easier to take a look at for Tesla recently. All right, so Tesla, same thing. Traders start taking positive delta positions. Tesla moves higher. Take their foot off the gas right around 11:15, and Tesla price consolidates. Let's go take a look at Bookmap. $10 a.m. It looks like aggressive buyers were coming in just a few minutes before 10 a.m. Again, magenta volume dots on the way down. Sellers are exhausted. Aggressive buyers come in, pull back to VWAP. There you go. There's your long entry, JF. All right. Reading through questions. All right, so JF, it seems different for futures. Yeah, I would say that there's more information for futures. The price action, what drives futures, is a little bit different than what drives stock. So the reading the price action for futures versus stocks could be a little bit different. All right, so here's Tesla. Again, aggressive buyers start to come in, pull back to VWAP. Options traders finally take their foot off the gas and price consolidates around the 168 level. Let's take a quick look at one other stock. This is Taiwan Semiconductor. And I just added this today, so I don't have price lines for this. Let's take a look and let me show you where this came from. So I'm going to zoom back out. Note on this trending portion, I can pick my watch list, pick stocks that are trending, or look at alerts. So what I did, I shifted over to these stocks that were trending. Taiwan Semi was on that earlier today. And just for those of you who may not know, there was a very large, I think it was a 7.4 magnitude earthquake in Taiwan. So it looks like traders were maybe taking advantage of a dip in Taiwan Semiconductor to buy. Let's zoom in on this chart. So if you were watching Taiwan Semi at the open, flow alert comes in maybe just a minute after the cash open. 140 is the call wall key gamma strike. A little bit of consolidation there, and then price moves higher. And note this, options traders were in Taiwan Semiconductor before the 10 a.m. data release. Let's separate out puts and calls. So they really didn't start buying calls until after the 10 a.m. data release, but they were selling puts. Let's go back to the total signal. Sorry. So initial move higher, flow alert, consolidation at the call wall, and then they start aggressively taking positive delta positions again after the 10 a.m. data release. Although Taiwan Semi was moving up, just like Meta before the 10 a.m. data release. So let's go to Bookmap. So there it is. Remember 140. Call wall, key gamma strike. Some consolidation at that level. Then price moves higher after the 10 a.m. data release. Note with a call wall breach, so the highest level of calls, absolute calls, is at that 140 level. So when price starts to move higher, remember, Spotgamma assumes that traders are long calls, market makers are short calls. Those calls are going deeper in the money. Their delta's becoming increasing, and market makers have to continue to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. So that delta is becoming more negative for the market makers. All right, Anurag asks, do I recommend having 3 monitors open with NVIDIA, Meta, and Tesla so that we can catch the moves quickly? I do have 3 monitors, but I don't watch Meta, NVIDIA, and Tesla separately. So on one monitor, I have Hero. On my main screen, my middle screen, I have Bookmap. And then on my right screen, I have my trading platform. All right, so that's how I use my screens. So that's entirely up to you. All right. My time is up. If anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know, and I'll stay for a couple minutes. Otherwise, I'll wrap it up. And I hope I answered your questions, everyone. If not, you can post questions in Discord after I wrap it up, and I'll be glad to answer. All right, everyone, I want to thank you for watching. All right, Game Now wants to take a look at Netflix. So I don't have Netflix and Bookmap anymore. We can take a look at Netflix here. Oops. In Hero, see what options traders are doing. Options traders taking positive delta positions. And they take the foot off the gas as Netflix approaches the 630 call wall. Looks like Netflix did not quite make it up to that level. This is a very typical pattern. Aggressive options traders in the morning, sometime mid-morning, take the foot off the gas, price consolidates and moves lower. And NC40G asks why only 3 times a week now. Bookmap, Bookmap wanted to make changes to the streaming schedule. So I'm streaming for Bookmap. This is what they wanted. If you have any thoughts about that, questions, you can send me a direct message in Discord. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. All right, everyone, I want to thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all your questions and comments. I love these interactive sessions. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for questions and comments. And I will see you on Friday. Again, remember jobs report on Friday morning. We'll talk about it on Friday afternoon. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great afternoon, and I will see you on Friday. Bye.